Welcome to part 2 of our update on Lakeshore Lines. So this video covers just about a year, and as we run through some of these photos you can see the progress we've made. Started down the left hand side, adding in the freight yard. So the freight yard, as you saw in the original drawing, goes from the engine service facility westbound. Another important task we had to accomplish is to actually connect the passenger station with the existing engine facility. So here we see the connector that was built. It also services the power plant and also North American Car, which is off to the upper left in the top of the picture. So we have some switches to provide coal service to the power plant, and also a through track from the passenger terminal over to the engine service facility, so that the engines can be dropped and the hogger can take them over to the engine service facility. You see there in the upper left also the switch that goes into the car repair service. The buildings here are just sitting there for place. There's a storehouse in the front of the powerhouse. The powerhouse, of course, is an Altoona Model Works. The office building there, which probably won't be in that position when we scenic this area, is a Corber building as well. The idea here on this end of the layout is that this particular section will, to the lower left, go into sort of a red light district, restaurant, tattoo parlor, YMCA, sort of a R&R area for the railroad workers. Here's a better look at some of the buildings, and also our first test run connecting the service facility to the passenger facility. And so that particular track is what will be used to run engines from the passenger yard over to the engine service facility. Another look from the other side at the buildings. Of course, again, these were the two sets of modules. The engine service facility and the passenger yard were part of IHMD, Independent High Railers Midwest Division. The engine service facility being Jerry Zeman's, and then passenger yard being mine. From the engine service facility, we moved down to the freight yard. Here we are laying out the main line tracks there to the left, and starting to lay out the ladder for the freight yard. Freight yard be a small classification yard. Will also include an icing platform, an Atlas icing platform, which we'll see later. 8-foot platform built from several kits. After we've got the main line laid, here we are laying some cork underlayment for the yard, and that was easier to do than using the traditional Midwest cork. So just glued and stapled down. As with anything, a lot of parts. The way this is being built on this particular side is more like a module. So they're 8 foot long and Molex connectors, because as part of the plan, underneath this whole freight yard on this side and the engine service facility will be a hidden staging yard. So that's about 70 feet long, a 9-track hidden staging yard that will be 16 inches below this. So in order to get that in, it will actually slide in underneath and be supported by the legs on each side. And so it's a little different construction. The balance of the layout will probably be a more traditional method. Here the track has been laid for the yard. Of course, While that looks good, here's what it looks like underneath. So there's quite a bit of work. In this particular case, I chose to do that laying on my back rather than flipping them over since I didn't have any help. But here again, the start of the icing platform. This is just 4 foot. There's another 4 foot yet to be built. So eventually that will be 8 feet. The hidden staging yard, as I said, lies underneath this whole side of the layout. So as you can see here in the drawing, run around on both sides and 7 tracks in the middle. All that will be computer controlled. All the switches are tortoises. On the inbound ladder on the east side and on the west side. And of course there'll be a hidden camera and block detectors on each of the tracks. So here is the eastbound ladder, laying that out in rough format and getting ready to wire those up and just lay out the spacing. In terms of electrical work, as you can see, quite a bit of work underneath each one of these switches. Each track is individually powered. Block detection, as I said, and of course each individual storage track in the hidden staging yard can be turned off. So in essence, you'll be able to store at least 7 trains down there. And looking back at the layout, you know, it is sort of a folded dog bone. So what will happen is it's also acts as a reversing loop. So it kind of gets into a fake point to point, but the train will disappear for some amount of time, and we'll be able to stage additional trains down there. Here's a look at the beginning of that eastbound ladder on the flip side, and of course all the wiring and tortoises that have to be supplied. Again, the construction was more modular because, again, as you can see in the upper part of this photo, all these sections have to slip underneath the freight yard and the engine service facility, be lifted up and bolted in place 16 inches off the top rail head of the engine service facility. This is what a bowl of spaghetti looks like of wiring underneath each of the sections, and then the completed look after they've all been tied down, cut, and connected. Here we're looking at the start of the westbound side of the ladder, the opposite side that will be at the westbound end. And so you can see the runaround at the top and the bottom of this particular section with the storage tracks in the center there. This is just all roughly laid out. Then it gets one of the key components was using a jig to line up all the track as moved along to keep everything nice and square, and really important from the old module building days that they all line up at the end of each module, and of course that the wiring all matches all the way down. So that was a technique that we used oftentimes, and has worked really well here. And just to end this update, I thought I'd throw in a little fun section here. These are the 4 New York Central streamliners that I have in my collection. I actually have several versions of the Empire State and the Dreyfuss Hudson. That's the Mercury in the top, followed by the actually an MTH version, PS2 of the Dreyfuss that's been converted to TMCC, an early version of the Commodore Vanderbilt in the silver color rather than the darker gray, and finally this is the new Lionel version of the Empire State. I also have the third rail version, and of course complete sets of passenger cars for each. So just a little fun display here, and hope to catch you next time. Thanks for watching.